Hello everybody, this is Pitchfield Black here, and welcome to the final episode of the Skulls General Reviews month event, in which today I am going to be reviewing one of the most legendary Doctor Who books, a key pivotal moment, well I guess you would say a key moment in the Doctor Who book canon really, even though I don't consider this book canon, but I'll get onto that in a minute. Well, probably 20 minutes actually, knowing how long this review is going to be. But for the final Skulls General Reviews month event episode in this event month, I am going to be reviewing the legendary, the Titanic, the absolutely gigantic Times Champion. Let us begin this review. Alright then, so for the cover art we have Times Champion, Craig Hinton and Keon. We have the artist's autograph or initials down there in the bottom right hand corner, or bottom left hand corner rather, pardon me. Then in the background, reclined to shadows, we have the Sixth Doctor looking very mysterious and very sort of unhappy and defeated. And then here you've got Mel with a skeleton arm. I heard that in this book that the explanation for her skeleton arm was that in fact somehow Mel was an android in this book, but from what I've heard that I didn't but during my quest of reading this book I did not come across anything like that in the book, so maybe I missed something, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. But I probably did miss quite a few things in this book because it's so fucking big. And then here you have George Mackenzie Trench, who looks a bit like an older Valiant, to be honest. And then for the spine of this Titanic we have the symbol of Rassilon in the top hand corner right here. Times Champion, Craig Hinton and Chris McKeon, and then we have a chunk down below the cover, and I've got to mention Craig Hinton and Chris McKeon is written down here, just below George A. Mackenzie's on George Mackenzie Trench's arm. And then here is the back. So we have the synopsis on Times Champion. Where this book takes place in the Doctor Who timeline. A little bit about Craig Hinton and Chris McKeon. The barcode, its price in the UK, which is £8.99, which you'll be extremely lucky to get. If you somehow manage to get Times Champion for £8.99 today, you are one lucky son of a bitch, I can say that much. Science fiction and TV tie-in. And then we've got some of the people who did this. Now, I actually figured out that there is actually a lie on the back of this book. Cover design is by Kronos Caliban. Kronos Caliban. I mean, in essence, I could see that being a company, and I'm not saying that it wasn't done by a company called Kronos Caliban, but I'm pretty sure that's a lie, because that is two things that actually appeared in the book. Great, I'm already spoiling this book, sorry people. Cover painting Alistair Pearson, and seal is by Andrew Wishart, who I'm assuming is talking about the seal of Rassilon there. UK £8.99, science fiction TV tie-in, and then there we've got a seal of Rassilon. And now for the synopsis, where this book takes place in the Doctor Who timeline, and a bit about Craig Hinton and Chris McKeon. Times Champion, an original novel featuring the Sixth Doctor, Mel, Benson and Romana. It seems that we have finally found ourselves at last, Doctor. Doctor. A pity. I had hoped to avoid this reunion. I've been disappointed enough today already. 1908. George Mackenzie Trench is suffering from writer's block unable to foresee the ending of his novel Times Champion, nor the consequences of its completion. Yes, there's actually a book within this book called Times Champion being written called Times Champion. Great. The year 9908, the planet Caliban, see where I'm coming from with the cover design bit, is under attack from cyber forces, and Governor George Mackenzie Trent attempts to save the world by unleashing Abaddon, a powerful computer virus, but Abaddon has other instructions. Meanwhile, Gallifrey is threatened and the Keeper is seeking answers within the Matrix. Professor Romana is helpless, no one is who they seem, and the conspiracy goes even deeper than she can imagine. She needs the Doctor, but the Doctor is on Earth in 2008, fighting to survive the life of a child who must survive at all costs. As Gallifrey is being besieged by ghosts from the past, the Doctor, Mel and Benton find themselves in the middle of an epic and final battle as the ancient gods choose their champions and allow chaos to reign all across of time and space. This adventure takes place between the television stories The Trial of a Time Lord and Time and the Rani. Craig Hinton died in 2006, and this was his final, incomplete and unpublished contribution to the world of Doctor Who. It has been completed by Chris McKayon and appears in print here for the first time. And then for the innards we have Times Champion 2 Ewan, Colin Baker, number 6, because I got this signed by Colin Baker at Dimensions 2016, which is funny enough why I bought it. Times Champion, Craig Hinton and Chris McKayon. We've got various copyright guff, all sorts of quotes and whatnot, and then we have the actual quotes here and whatnot. And what this is line quotations for the first 6, according to this book, the first 6 final lines of each incarnation of the Doctor before they regenerated. No, but it isn't all over. It's far from being all over. Stop! You're making me giddy! No! I won't have it! You can't do this to me! No. Well, there's life there is in the end, but the moment it's the end, but the moment I've been prepared for. It feels different this time. Adric, you want me to become a god? For Craig, and then we have the start of this book. This is a marked 402 page, 400 page long Doctor Who book exactly, but Times Champion starts at page 7, so realistically this is 393 pages long. However, there was a mass misprint on all copies of Times Champion where a planned 2-page epilogue was never printed in any and all copies of Times Champion. So in actuality, if you count the unprinted epilogue, this book is let me just do a quick calculation, 395 pages long. And then there we've got some acknowledgements about the authors, and then we've just got loads and loads and loads of blank pages at the back. Just like absolutely tons of blank pages at the back for some reason. Good for autographs, I guess. And now on to my review and the general consensus of Times Champion. On Goodreads, it's quite frankly fucking ridiculous how much positive reviews this has. In fact, I would probably say this is the most amount of positive ratings I have seen on a single Doctor Who book on Goodreads. It has an incredible 8 4-star reviews and 8 5-star reviews. Extremely minimal on negative ratings of this book, practically none. There was a couple people that rated it 3 stars out of 5, but out of all of them I only saw one rating that was lower than that. Only one. Personally, I am extremely mixed on Times Champion, very mixed in fact. For me, this book took a record-breaking 4 days and a week to read, which is saying a lot for a person that took 3 and 4 days to read Seeing Eye and In the Blood respectively. From that, you may think that I hate this novel on the whole. Again, I do and I don't, and I'm going to come to that soon. This is a Doctor Who novel of which I am finding extremely hard to comprehend an overall conclusion for, because this novel is like staring into the mind of a schizophrenic Time Lord. Same adjective can also be used for the writing. It's a mess, in other words. This is an occasionally cheesy, occasionally overblown, somewhat meandering, overlong epic finale for the Sixth Doctor, and somewhat unfortunately, it's the best he's got for me so far. Part of a Time Lord is a bloody mess for the most part. The Mysterious Planet is a bit of a mediocre opener for me personally. Mind Warp is a great story for me, with one of the best endings to a story, period. Terror of the Vervoid is a mediocre, dull space run around for 100 minutes, and The Ultimate Foe is almost unspeakably awful. Starts off with what is single-handedly one of the greatest single episodes ever, and which has one of the greatest cliffhangers in Doctor Who history, and ends with what's quite possibly the singular worst episode of classic Who, which ruins so many things. The Sixth Doctor Last Adventure is basically Big Finish retreading Trial of a Time Lord, while doing it in a very similar vein, with a widely varying list of quality that does not deserve its own title. For fuck's sake, if Trial of a Time Lord didn't work, why do the same Big Finish? Why? If you're aiming for this to be his final outing and feel so fit to give it this title, and end it on a kaleidoscopically wide epic like Master Plan scale or something. Do something big and explosive. No Doctor deserves this. On a side note, if you say that The Brink of Death was an explosive climax for him, I completely disagree. In my opinion, that was just 60 minutes of incoherent, jumbled noise with no plot whatsoever, in my opinion. Quite possibly, if you were to count like Trial of it, like the individual like hour-long audios within the Sixth Doctor Last Adventure, Brink of Death is quite possibly the worst Big Finish audio I have ever heard, if you count it as a singular audio. For me, Times Champion is the closest thing so far for a definitive Sixth Doctor finale. When it comes to the canonical questions, I personally don't consider it to be a canon story, but if I had to count either of these 3 Doctor Who adventures as the canon Sixth Doctor finale, I'd go for this. Quite frankly, if Times Champion was the canon Sixth Doctor finale, any Doctor Who beyond this book's placement in the timeline of the show might as well just never happen. That's how non-canonical a read this is. If you truly want to find out what happens, stay for the spoiler section in this review. One thing that I will say that is very positive with this novel is the characterization, characters and character chemistry, which is all just top notch in my opinion. The interactions between the Doctor and his companion Benton in this book just feel so utterly human. Reading the dialogue in this book just feels like everyday humans having a conversation with each other in everyday situations. Because of the characterization in this book alone, the Sixth Doctor has wormed its way up my list of favourite Doctors. The incarnation of Colin's Doctor here just feels so defeated, and at the end of his life, it's the mellower and Sixth Doctor we've seen in Big Finish in the past, what was it, 666 monthly range releases? All of the other characters are great and very well written. Well, for the most part in the case of Mel. The overall plot itself, the Times Champion, is conceptually silly and gets overblown pretty quick, with too many elements introduced. Plot-wise, I don't consider this book to be overlong, as it does warrant its length. It's just that 1 or 2 elements could have been cut from the book as a whole, in my opinion. It is because of this that I will say you need a lot of Doctor Who experience in Doctor Who novels before venturing into this mindfuck. If you're not used to the use of format of Doctor Who novels and you don't like over complex stories and if you somehow read the entire thing despite all of that, you will probably go brain dead after reading this book. That is quite possibly not an exaggeration. You possibly will go brain dead if you may end up going brain dead if you don't have like a lot of experience and you end up finishing this Doctor Who book somehow. If you do want to give this book a shot, however, I would say hold out onto it as like a 50th to 60th read in terms of Doctor Who novels. Even saying that, this is around my 80th Doctor Who book I have read, and I struggled pretty hard. This is definitely not for everybody, this novel. I honestly cannot say much in terms of the plot because it's very easy to spoil, but do stick for the spoiler section if you do want to hear what happens. If you wanted a non-spoiler review of Times Champion, there you go, and I will place a time on screen around now for the overall conclusion to this review if you do want to skip the spoilers. Okay, time to basically just rip this book to pieces. The whole premise of this book itself is extremely hard to even comprehend because there is so much, but here is a basic rundown. George Mackenzie Trent is writing a novel within this book called Times Champion, in what are known as quantum mnemonics. This is a language which can basically control things in essence. Mel gets stuck in 1908 and is forced to help George finish the book. The Doctor is stuck in 2008 and basically things go crazy. It might have been in 9,908 it might have been, I'm not 100% sure, I can't remember everything about this book. Basically, but he gets stuck in either of those 2 years, and basically things just go crazy, absolutely crazy. Because of this thing called Abaddon, basically a sentient computer virus demon, the Matrix gets ripped apart. Everything the Doctor defeated spills out of the Matrix, and the destruction of Gallifrey happens. Pretty much the complete and utter obliteration of Gallifrey, killing every single Time Lord and Time Lady apart from the Doctor, the Valeyard Romana, and an original character called Clarice. I think I might be wrong about Clarice, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. The Doctor and the Valeyard eventually do battle with each other in this odd void world that I cannot remember anything about other than and that in essence is Times Champion. As you might be able to gather, it's a lot, and basically I just summarising the plot further backs up my or just summarising what actually happens in this novel just further backs up what I was saying earlier about Times Champion, it being overblown and sort of has far too many elements. Probably the worst thing about Times Champion, in my opinion, is the following thing that happens. Get ready for this shit, because this is quite hard to believe, but if you do want to, if you actually have Times Champion and you want to prove and you want to like see, and if you want to like check if I'm actually telling the truth, this happens at around page 320 in the book. Okay, here we go. Mel becomes a technomancer sorcerer called Melifier through being possessed by the quantum mnemonics in the book Times Champion, in this book called Times Champion. I honestly think this shit speaks for itself, because just what the fuck? What the actual fuck? I know to an extent Craig Hinton was a bit of a crazy writer, but if this was in his notes for this book, I will be surprised, to be honest. Then again, in Millennial Rights, yes, spoilers for this as well, he did put in the Great Intelligence was originally meant to use koala bears instead of yetis apparently, so I guess it's not that out of line. I guess. Another ridiculous thing about this novel is the actual meaning of the title itself. I can't remember every exact detail of how this happens, but basically the Doctor and Valeyard go up to this equivalent of heaven and meet some gods. The Doctor gets elected Times Champion by the God of Time, and the Valeyard later on gets elected by Death's Champion. Gets elected Death's Champion by what is essentially a female Grim Reaper god. Again, this is another bonkers thing about the book that just speaks for itself in my opinion. And yet another absolutely bonkers thing that I didn't put into the script of this review, but I might as well talk about. The thing on the back of this book about a child that must not die, The child is basically partially Kronos. There's the Doctor Who John Pertwee story called A Time Monster, and introduced that there's this thing called Kronos, which is basically a chronivore, which is a time eater. And basically, I'm struggling to actually remember what happens here, but I think the character Clarice somehow is partially part of Kronos. She gets impregnated before the events of this book, gives birth, and the baby that she has is in this book. And because the baby is part Kronos and part chronivore, it has, like, I don't know, these weird sessions where it basically, like, affects everything around it. It starts disturbing reality just because it's this baby that, like, is part chronivore. Something like that happens in the book. I cannot remember at this point, and I particularly don't want to comprehend what actually happens with that in this book, because it's just fucking ridiculous. Overall, Times Champion is a big book and a big moment in the world of Doctor Who books. Is it any good? Well, that's the thing. I am going to be doing something that I have never ever seen anybody do for any reviews on YouTube, on practically anything: music, Doctor Who books, movies, video games, whatever. I've seen people rate pieces of media through various means, different ratings to build up to an overall rating, and different ways of rating overall together. But I have never ever seen anybody give an individual piece of media 2 individual overall ratings. I am giving Times Champion a 4 to a 5 out of 10 in terms of actual quality, and an 8 out of 10 in terms of personal enjoyment. I could easily just give this book an overall 6 out of 10, but I personally feel that doing this is the best way to sum up and justify this utter oddball of Doctor Who history. So, would I recommend the Times Champion? Honestly, no. As it's so fucking unpredictable, if you will like this book or not. If you're a stoner, by all means go ahead. You'll probably have a whale of a time with this Doctor Who book, because as you probably heard in the spoiler section, if you did watch that, there is just some crazy stuff in this book. But yeah guys, that is basically my review of Times Champion. Would I recommend it? No, not really. I enjoyed it, but it's sort of enjoyable shit, like something like The Underwater Menace or something like that. But again, this is just my opinion. If you happen to disagree with me, fair enough. If you have read Times Champion, let me know what you think in the comments below. And that's it guys, that is the final episode of the Scourge General Reviews month event, and the very last video for it as well, I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% sure at this point, because it's one of the very first videos I'm recording for it, weirdly enough. But anyways, like, favorite, comment, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Pitch Skull Black, dematerializing.